indicates that he's able to reel these guys in or make them commit to any sort of system that isn't do what you want now that you can do what you want, or however the saying goes. And that's not going to get it done against the elite teams in the West.
This is going to be a test drive here because they're courting Rudy Gay. They don't really have a good mechanism to sign Rudy Gay, but it's not clear what Rudy Gay's market is out there elsewhere. Right. And so we talked several times in this show about could some players come on discounts. Could Rudy Gay look at this situation and say, you know what, I know that the market might not be great for me right now. I will take what the Thunder can give me, or he can try to work out a sign and trade with the Kings. More likely just take what the Thunder can give him and try to join these guys. And then you're talking about a team that, no, they're not beating the Warriors, but with Rudy Gay, Russell Westbrook, Paul George.
Here's another team on Rudy Gay, okay? And I think this is a little underrated here, but if you're in a spot where you're maybe not going to get the kind of money that you were hoping for, why don't you a lot of guys then look at a team where can I go where I can play a lot, like Deion Waiters last year.
Yeah.
Where can I go where I can have a contract year? What about the LA Clippers?
You know, it's funny because here's a guy who's coming off of a very serious injury, a torn Achilles. And that's probably dampening his market. So playing somewhere and showing people, look, I am healthy. I can play. Give me a chance. That's not a bad idea. And playing in L.A., where we now know without Chris Paul, they're going to be hurting for some offense. And I know there's been talks of trying to get Danilo Gallinari in there. And obviously he's a better option because, you know, at least he was healthy last year, relatively healthy.
Well, for Gallinari.
Relatively healthy, relatively. But, yeah, that's not a bad idea. But when you talk about Oklahoma City, I just go back to this, the basketball fit. I don't know if the basketball fit is there. And I'm not talking about can they beat the Warriors. I'm talking about just the regular run-of-the-mill good teams in the West. Are they the best team in their division? Are they better than the Utah Jazz?
Well, let's find out about Gordon Hayward first on that.
You know what I love about this, though? You said this earlier. This is like the Kobe system team because there's Westbrook and Paul, and they both grew up idolizing Kobe.
Yes, they did.
You know, okay, but you know what Kobe was about? Like, if he had respect for you, if he had respect to say, okay, I'll pass you the ball because I think you might hit it. Over the years, he didn't
have a lot of respect.
Do you know who he respected? You know who he respected? Remember Steve Blake?
Yes.
Kobe loves Steve Blake.
Yeah.
That was one of his guys that he loved, right? I mean, he passed him the ball at the end of a playoff game. Fish,
like,
right?
Yeah.
There's
You respect Andre Roberson.
Yeah. But look, like Paul George and Russell Westbrook, they're going to respect each other. I'm kind of interested to see how that pairing is going to go.
I think they respect one another, and I don't think it's animosity. It's just, think about Durant and Westbrook, right? There was no friction there, not an outward friction. It's just an understanding that the way we play is your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. That's good, but that's playing checkers in a league where people are increasingly playing chess, and of course the best team in the league is playing global thermonuclear war. Like, it's just, there's levels to this, right?
I'm just excited about the stat sheet, though. It's going to be like Westbrook is going to be like 9 for 27. Paul's going to be 8 for 23, and then the next game it's going to be great.
Yeah.
Speaking of Gallinari, if the Wizards match on Otto Porter, watch Gallinari in Sacramento.
They're just throwing that bag to anybody.
I like that. Just toss it out there. Hey, we got to take a break, but guess what? We got one of our own free agents coming up next, making his jump debut. Front office insider Bobby Marks to discuss how long the Warriors. I'm Ramona Shelburne. Rachel Nichols is like in my ear, in spirit. That's Amin El-Hassan and Brian Windhorst over there. And now we'd like to welcome in the newest addition to the NBA family here at ESPN. That's front office insider Bobby Marks with jump debut. How about it? Give it up, guys. Give it up. Give it up. Hey. Welcome, Bobby.
Hello, Bobby.
How are you
Bobby
guys?
Marks knows his stuff.
Hey, Bobby, you know, you as a former front office guy have to appreciate what the Houston Rockets have done this offseason. I mean, I think all of us did the math on that first Chris Paul trade and said, wait, that doesn't add up. They must be doing something. And then there were all these trades with guys on non-guaranteed contracts. What is Houston doing? Nene, PJ Tucker, Chris Paul. Like, what are they doing now, and what do they got going forward?
Well, first, I'm sure there's a Staples next to Houston, by Houston, that sold a lot of calculators. But where the Rockets are right now is that they've got $108 million in guaranteed contracts. They finally got the Nene contract resolved based on the over 38 rule. They signed PJ Tucker yesterday, and now they're hard capped. But they also have about $6 million in non-guaranteed contracts that maybe they can put together with a Trevor Ariza and go out and try to get another player there. But this is where their roster is. There's still certainly some work to do on that bench based on finding another point guard. Can you get another wing also?
So, Bobby, one of the things that you do so well for us here at ESPN already, we're already enjoying all of your information you're giving us. Golden State Warriors have spent a ton of money and they're going to spend a ton of money. They're already way into the tax. They haven't even re-signed Kevin Durant yet. They're committing to these guys for 3 more years. In Steph Curry's case, 5 years. How does their situation look going forward, and how much money are we talking about these guys are going to spend?
A lot, Brian. And I think the Andre Iguodala contract was kind of the domino where we saw how much this Warrior team was going to spend. You're looking at roughly $40 million right now. Let's say if they sign Nick Young to the full to the tax mid level, that number is going to go up to about $52 million. And where it's going to hurt is in years 3 and 4. Look at those numbers. That is the repeater tax number. $198 million, $222 million. That doesn't even count your salary right now. And Brian, as you know, I worked for that Nets organization. I paid a large tax bill one year, $90 million. And as I've said before, when you have to pay that number, you don't pay that in installments. That is one lump sum. They give you the wiring instructions. You pay it by July 7th. You hit the button, and that money goes right into the league's bank account. But can the Warriors do it? Of course they can do it. I think it's just a matter of can you stomach the cost of it.
Bobby, that must be so fun to have an owner who can just write that check like that. I don't know what that's like. You know, we had to fight for our little scraps in Phoenix. But talking about Carmelo Anthony, here's a guy that, at least it seems like right now, the Knicks aren't going to buy out. What are some of the options if teams are trying to trade for him outright? What kind of destinations could we see Carmelo Anthony land?
Well, I think it's going to be based on who kind of falls short with some of these free agents. Could it be maybe a team like Boston if they miss out on Gordon Hayward right now? I think the next couple of days here, is going to determine where the market is as far as can maybe the Clippers maybe jump back in the mix. That number is certainly high, though. You're looking at $26 million this year, $27 million for the following year, and I'm not even putting into that $8 million trade bonus, which I think we don't have to pay attention to right now. And I say that based on, remember what Chris Paul did last week, where he reduced that number from 3.6 to $600,000. So there's certainly a way you can finagle with the numbers, but I still believe it would be through the buyout market. But with new management, I think we're kind of in a wait-and-see mode.
Hey, Bobby, thanks. Good job. Look, that was good, guys. That was his first. That was a jump debut. Nice job.
We're going to be talking to him a lot more.
I know. I'm loving it. Keep those emails coming. I'm loving it. I feel like I'm part of a front office right now. Thanks, Bobby.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, Amin, did you see what the Lakers are doing? Nothing so far. Nothing so far. Hanging back with their sacred cap space for next year.
He loves that word, doesn't he? Rob Pelinka loves using that term, sacred cap space.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things that, is a good sell job. We can tell that Pelinka is selling. He's pretty good at selling. But up the coast, I just want to go back 1 second. Did you see that chart that was just on there?
Can we throw that back up?
Let Joe Lacob worry about that.
But seriously, these are numbers like we've never seen before. And I want you to look at two columns. That first column is fine, but the second column, that's just tax. That's not going to anybody but the NBA.
Oh my gosh!
And we won't even worry about 2021. Just look at 2018-19, $90 million in tax. In tax, that's like
cost of doing business.
It's going to be like $3 million a team. Thank you very much. And then look at that jump in 2019. $200 million higher in tax than they are in salary. I understand that they have lots of money, but the whole point of this repeater tax, which is hitting the Cavs this year, is it's supposed to force competitive balance. It's supposed to force the team to break up. Will this team be able to be kept together? They say they can, but wow, look at those numbers.
The problem is, again, people say, oh, but the team value has gone up since they bought it. Sure, but that's not cash on hand.
Yeah, that's a theoretical
That's like
value.
I bought my house for $70,000. Yeah. It's worth $700,000.
Well, that's pretty good. Where do you live?
It's theoretically.
Good job, Amin.
I live in Cleveland. No.
Oh man.
I bought
it wouldn't be $700,000. I'll tell you that.
But that extra $630,000 theoretically is not. I don't have it laying around. It's all in the house, so it's all in the team. And Brian,
Plus, they're building an arena, which they're self-financing.
Yes.
And I know these guys have a lot of money. And I know what you're saying, Ramona, earlier today about let's not worry about the owner's money. But when we're talking about a historic team being tried to keep together, and none of this is breaking news, but now that we see it you know,
Black and white.
Oh my God!
Black
yeah,
and
but guess
red, I
what?
should say.
You know who wants to stay together? Those guys.
Sure.
Like those guys have talked. They've
but they're
all
not
gotten
taking-
on the same page.
they're all
Yeah, but
talking.
everyone's taking less so they can stay together this
don't
year.
$3 million less.
Don't
still.
mistake me explaining what the owners feel like for their defense. I'm not defending billionaires from spending money. I'm just telling you, everyone, all of us, everyone out there has a level of affluence that someone else looks like, whoa, you got all that money? And we could say, hey, I paid $100 for a stick of gum, and there's someone out there that said, but you can afford it. This is not a big
There's
deal.
literally people who pay like extra money for like gold-plated chocolate.
Sure.
Like you don't need gold-plated chocolate. You don't need to pay $100
We've never
for
seen
that.
spending like this in the history of American professional sports. And so just the point is, oh my God, are the Warriors great? And now the point is, oh my God, are they going to be expensive?
By the way, you know what happens to that tax money, that $90 million? It gets divided to all your competitors who didn't go into tax.
Consolation prize.
But I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
they.
Can't buy the Larry O'Brien trophy with it, though. I mean,
No, you cannot.
you can buy a lot of gold. You can buy more gold. than
Yeah.
Larry O'Brien.
Yeah, but look, what we saw there is that they haven't even talked about paying Draymond Green and Klay Thompson yet. Okay, that's when things get really expensive.
That's what those numbers indicate. Those numbers that Bobby put together there indicate keeping Draymond Green and Klay Thompson and signing them the way they just signed Durant and Curry. And I think it's just fair to ask, will they be able to stomach it?
Yep.
Yeah, let's do it again. Let's put it up again. And again, look at the luxury tax increases. So next year, it's heavy. And by the way, their payroll this year was $100 million. So they won their title with $100 million payroll. Next year, I don't even have to be a math wizard. It's 80% more.
Right.
But just when you talk about dynasty, these new rules are anti-dynasty rules. And there is the.
Well, remember yesterday when LeBron James put the tweet out saying that Steph Curry should get $400 million, like Steph Curry's underpaid. So instead of Steph Curry getting that money now is being redistributed to the rest of the teams that are not over the cap.
Right.
And those teams are using it to redistribute it to players who are not as good as Steph Curry.
Yes.
That's right.
And that goes back to the BRI split that we talked about earlier. I have a question for you guys, though.
Oh.
Looking at that graphic, let's throw it up one more
I
time.
like it.
How many rings is it worth, right? That money. How many rings is
Well,
it
they've
worth?
already got 2.
They've got 2. So how many? At what point do you say,
Well,
if
we'll
I
see.
don't win this many, then it's not worth it?
Well, we'll see.
And getting back to the topic of the other teams in the West, other teams in the league, it's now Star Wars. Like, the only way to compete with Golden State is to get a team with as many stars. So you see teams like the Lakers in their sacred cap space for next year. You see Houston trying to go, okay, we got 1, now we got 2. Let's see if we can get 3. Oklahoma City has Russell and Paul George.
Which is why some teams are saying, look at those numbers. Let's wait out because we know they're not going to be able to pay it, and we'll be ready to go in 2019, 2020. Because there are teams doing that. And it's the teams like the Rockets that are seeing those numbers and flying in the face of it and say, you know what, we're going to go now anyway.
All right, guys. Make or Miss is next, just moments away. But first, we show you Hassan Whiteside's free agent recruiting page via his Snapchat. Enjoy.
There was DJ Khaled.
Listen, you can walk in the cold, or you can ride with us, or you can ride in the heat. Or you can ride in the heat.
You can eat strawberries there, too.
Strawberries and beer?
Yeah, that worked. No, that's kind of gross.
Hey.
It's a Make or Miss League, guys.
Yay.
Make recruiting. Hassan Whiteside is on Snapchat trying to lure players to the Heat, touting Miami's warm weather and beachside foot baths. I mean, do you like Whiteside's pitch to free agents?
You know what? He doesn't waste time telling you about what the other teams in town are doing. Hey,
Yeah.
come check out our baseball team. He tells you about real things that you can experience every
They
single day.
didn't take Hayward to Marlins Park. Is that what you're saying?
No Osuna highlights. I like that.
This banana boats never miss, you guys.
This is
They
amazing.
never miss. I'm down with banana boats anytime. Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade were out on the open water when they spotted an unmanned banana boat.
Yeah.
Ryan, is this an omen? Should we doubt about a Super Friends reunion?
Maybe we should doubt it because where are the Super Friends?
Yeah.
The last 2 years they've been on the banana boat together. This year, no friends on the banana boat. By the way, Gabby and Dwayne have been on vacation
I love
for
it.
like 3 weeks. God
3
bless
weeks? It
them.
feels like 3 years.
Just keep it. I mean,
just
Snapchat
messing
never
around,
stops.
just messing around the Mediterranean.
sometimes we get a little more on the Snapchat than we bargained for, too. Fake perseverance. 61-year-old Calvin Roberts was drafted by the Spurs in 1980, but didn't make the squad. Now, as a grandpa, he wants another crack at making an NBA roster. I mean, are NBA dreams ever really dead?
Let me be the well-actually guy. He wants to make an NBA Summer League roster.
Okay,
and you know what?
Okay.
I, for one, would think it would be a great gesture. The Spurs should do it. They should just have
They
him
probably
there.
still have his rights. And what's his cap hold? I mean, let's get Bobby Marks back on here. What's his cap hold?
Like a Disney movie in the works already.
Whatever the minimum is.
Make headshots. Jump alum and Big Three baller Steven Jackson is playing
Yes!
second game with the killing threes today, and his
Don't get
headshot
hurt,
is
Jax.
tremendous. I mean, does Stacks have the greatest headshot ever?
Absolutely, man. That's
So
my
good.
guy right there, man. And you know what?
good.
He was broke the news that Chauncey was coming to play today in Charlotte. I don't know how it went, but I just, as Brian was
Stacks,
saying,
don't get hurt, baby.